Right, hello. What I'm going to do today is just make a simple candle holder out of an old bit of log that I found in the wood burning pile this afternoon. I've made these before, and I don't know, you can use them if you want to make the table look a little bit romantic when you're smoozing your missus, or if you want to try and make an effort if the mother-in-law comes around. Simple little project. All it involves is a handsaw, a few hand planes and a drill bit, and you end up with my opinion, quite a nice candle holder. So what I've got here is, I think it's an old bit of birch, doesn't look like oak, and what I've done already is just square off roughly one side, because it was very rough, and even though it's rustic, it was a bit too rustic. And what I'm going to do is just do the same to the other side, so I'm just going to put it in my vise. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then use my handsaw just to get it as square as possible. Do the vice up a little bit more. There you go. Might have been quicker with an electrical saw, but we're doing this one all by hand. So now we've got two ends that are relatively square, and I'm going to turn it over. This is going to be the bottom, so it's going to sit like that. And then the candles will be in the top here. We'll have two or three. But first of all, I'm going to square the bottom and make it nice and flat, because I don't want it wobbling around on the table. You can see there, very wobbly. So I'm just going to put it in my vise. Make sure that's as firm as possible. Now I'm just going to eyeball it, which means look at it from a distance. So now I've got it in the vise, I'm just going to eyeball it for straightness and square. And you don't have to have 20/20 vision to see that's way out of square. This section here, you probably can't see it on the camera, but it's so much higher than the rest. So what I've got here is a number 4 Stanley plane. And what I've done is I've put in a curved blade, a convex blade, and this is my version of a version of a scrub plane. And what it does is it takes a really deep cut. It's not a pretty cut, very very rough. You'll probably get lots of tear out and fibres breaking off, but it takes a lot of material off quickly. You probably notice when I use the different planes. I can see by the thickness and type of shaving you get, but you can also notice a real distinct change in the sound they make. Right there, I've taken quite a lot of material off using the scrub plane. I'm just going to eyeball it again. Whoa. I can see that this side here is like Mount Everest, so I'm going to have to take lots of material off there. Going to eyeball it again. It's like adding salt to dinner. Once you've taken it off or put it in, you can't take it off again. Yeah, that's a lot better. But this, But you probably can't see it on the camera. There's a section here that's a depression, so what I'm going to have to do is take material off all sides around it. So here we go. Put it in the plane again, plane the vice again. My vice wasn't working particularly well there, so what I've done is I've secured a clamp into the vice and then secured the bit of timber into the clamp, and hopefully that should be a little bit more secure. Just going to eyeball it again. There we go. Right, that seems about, yeah, that's pretty good for me. Well, pretty good for the scrub plane. Now I'm going to go to my jack plane, which has got a straight blade and it takes a much finer cut, and it'll ensure that this is flat. So I'm just starting off with the blade retracted fully, and then you can hear it starting to take a shaving. So on here, what I said about the sound earlier, when I push, it's not taking a cut, and then it takes one, which means this part here is higher than here. And you might not be able to see, but I can. The more passes I take, the longer the shaving's getting. But I'm not going to just concentrate on this side, otherwise this side is going to end up lower than this side, so I'm going to methodically move over. Can you hear there? It's taking a shaving here and here, which means there must be a depression in the middle. I'm just going to keep going there. And hopefully you can see on the camera, even though I'm going over it 5 or 6 times, the pencil line's still there. And that's because these two ends are higher. So I'm just going to take a deeper cut. Just going to carry on trying to get this flat. Right, just going to re-secure it in the vice. Oh, that's better. This isn't ideal, but it's the only tools I've got, so I've got to work with that. I'm going to eyeball it again. Again, it's like cooking. If you have too much salt, you can't take it out. If I take some wood off, I can't put it back. Now I'm going to take because before I was taking quite a deep shaving. I'm just going to retract the blade and take a much thinner shaving. Can you see that? I'm taking a full length shaving pretty much on all those passes, and that's because it's level, it's square, and I can feel that. It's so smooth, it's smoother than any sandpaper you could get, and that's with a scrub plane and then jack plane. And this is going to be on the kitchen table, so you're not even going to see it, but I like to do things well. Right, so let's take that out and see how it is. Better than it was before. Yep, still a little bit I need to take out. I mean, because I said this was an exercise on using hand planes and getting practice, I'm going to put some winding sticks on there. and they check for twist to see how twisted the board is. I mean, it's such a short length of the board, it's difficult to see the twist, but there isn't any really. So I'll put those back. Check for bow, and bow is if it was shaped like this. So if the two edges here and here were higher than the middle, that would be cup, sorry. And there isn't any. And bow, that would be if it's shaped like a bow, and a bow and arrow. And again, I haven't got any. So I'm just going to take a few more passes with the jack plane. And then, this is my number 4 smoothing plane. This has got a razor sharp, literally razor sharp blade. I'm just putting some oil on there, on the sole of the plane. The reason I do that is to make the plane run smoother over the surface. Sometimes you get chattering and you can see indentations in the wood. So again, whenever I pick up a plane, I always turn the blade and retract it a little bit because I don't want to take a massive shaving. So that's too much. Do you see what I mean about the noise? The first scrub plane is a really deep noise, and then the jack plane is a little bit higher. And this one is just so smooth. Yeah, I can feel it with my hand. That is so smooth, it's going to be too smooth to put any finish on it. I'm probably going to finish it in Danish oil or some Osmo oil, and I'm going to have to rough that up with probably 220, 240 grit or sandpaper. So I'm happy with that. Now it's time to turn to the sides. Right, I've just come into the end of squaring up the end. I'm putting that in extra solid. Right. That is actually dead square, so I've just got the other end to do. First check it with the square. That's pretty good. Just got a high point at one end. How should I do this? That is square. Right, so I know that the bottom is flat, completely square. Like I say, this isn't a bit of joinery, but if you want to take pride in your work, what should I do? I want to make sure everything's square, so I'm just going to put my square up against the edge, and I can see that I need to take material out here. And what I'm going to do is just go back to the planes. I'm going to put it as low down in the vise as I can to stop any to minimise vibrations. I'm just going to plane. And you can only plane end grain if the blade of your plane is razor sharp. You can feel the noise it makes. You know it's sharp. I need to get a new vise. Right, I'm just going to check for square. Yeah. And then I'm going to go back to my number 4 plane, which takes the extra fine cut and gives it a really silky finish. And I'll just put some oil on there, because if you notice with the jack plane it was chattering a little bit. I'm just going to come at it from the other end. The problem I've got here is that seems to be the centre of the branch or the wood, and it's solid. My plane is taking a cutting, but it's struggling. What I'm doing now is just using some sandpaper and a sanding block, a cork sanding block, just to finish off the 3 faces. Right, pretty much finished the 3 faces. So look there, you're not going to see it, but it's got quite a bit of character, that wood. And then the end grain, to me that's got character. Smooth, it's going to look even better with a little bit of Danish oil. And then we've just got to drill the 3 candle holes, so I'll come back once I've done that. Right, I've just drilled the holes in it. Took me a while, but I've done that. I had to measure it first to make sure every candle was equidistant apart from each other, and it's finished. Doesn't rock at all. The edges, okay, I'm not very good at this or showing it, but the edges are dead square. I've just sanded both the edges and the bottom. It's completely smooth, and I'm probably going to finish it. I'm thinking about whether to use shellac or Danish oil. Shellac's not as robust as Danish oil, but shellac sets in about half an hour, 40 minutes. But I think I'm going to go. Well, I am going to go for Danish oil because it's a bit more resilient finish. It's relatively easy. I've got a little rag here, just a cotton rag. There's a number of ways to put it on Danish oil, but I'm going to use the rag method. And you just put it on the rag and then rub it in. then when the rag runs out, just put some more on. I'll show you the method I use for Danish oil when I want a shiny finish in a later video, but for this one I want quite a, not a matte finish, but not a mega gloss one. You see there, the grain's just, I don't know, is pop the right word? You can just see the character of it even more. And on the end grain, it's, you see it to a greater degree. There we go. So watch this, hopefully you will see it. I mean, I think that just finishes it off brilliantly. And then on the other side as well. Again, because this is rustic, I'm not using my ideal method for putting Danish oil on, because I want the finish not to be too shiny. So I put a relatively thin coat on there of Danish oil, and I'm going to let that soak in for about 20 minutes, and then I'll come back and just give it a light wipe with the same cloth just to take the excess off, and then I'll probably repeat that a couple of times over the next probably 2.5 hours. So I'll put about 2 or 3 coats on, and then that's it. There we go. I'm going to say one very important thing about Danish oil. If you've got a rag like this and you screw it up, people do say that as it dries there's a chemical reaction and it gives off heat, and the heat can set the cloth on fire. So what I do is just put it outside. In England it rains quite a lot, so there's no danger of this self-igniting, but in a workshop, you see down there, there's lots of wood shavings from today's work. I wouldn't want that to catch fire. It would spread quite rapidly in this garage. So there we go. Just turn it over. I reckon that looks alright, and it's only taken me about 45 minutes to make. And just to show you what it looks like when it's finished. I'll turn the lights off. Now I reckon when you're tucking into a steak and a nice red wine, it's going to taste a little bit better because of that candlelight holder. And there you go.